Yeah.
Where to start?
We have
so much to talk about this week. You just said a second ago that if you look at the calendar right, like if you start at the right date and end at the right date, we have 6 gigs in 9 days.
I think it's 6 in 9 days.
It's a busy couple of weeks.
Maybe it's 7 in 9 days. Whatever it is.
In 3 different states.
In 3 different states. So we're just back from a weekend in California. We played Poway
Center for the Performing Arts.
Beautiful theater, Friday. Mm-hmm. And then played Talega, California, an outdoor show.
It's in San Clemente.
San Clemente.
Same place we played last year.
Amazingly beautiful beach. I didn't know. Yes. We didn't go to the beach in San Clemente.
Oh, yeah. We went to the San Clemente Pier this time.
Right.
And, oh, yeah, it's gorgeous because of it's so hilly right there.
Yeah, the hills go straight up from the beach.
It's almost European. It looks kind of Italian or something, like the way that it comes up from the beach. And just like you see these houses upon houses and these white walls and terracotta roofs and stuff.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous beach.
Yeah.
So Poway was Friday night, and maybe we'll talk a little business here just for anybody who's interested. Poway was one of the first gigs that out of state we have done a door deal, meaning our pay is based on ticket sales.
Right. And that's a little nerve-wracking.
It's a little nerve-wracking to be going to another state and going like, and door deals can look like a million different things. There could be a minimum that, like, once you've hit a minimum, you get all the money after that. The door deal could be a percentage of the ticket price. The band might get half, whatever, of the ticket price. There could be a combo. There could be up to $1,000, the venue gets all the money from the ticket sales, and then after that it's a 50-50. So there's a million different ways that shows like that, go. But that's one of the first ones we've done out of state that way. And I think it went well.
It went great. It went way better than I expected. In terms of turnout, I mean, the show is an oiled machine at this point.
The show is the show.
And the show just keeps getting better. But I think we well surpassed our break-even point. Yeah.
It was interesting playing a completely, like a real theater, like where they have plays and like the 5 backstage rooms and all these guys with like headsets and the walkie-talkies like running around, and we're usually a little more low production than this.
I mean, we're high production for what we do, but like the whole
coordinating.
The people on the spotlights had headsets so they could talk to the people on the video, so they could talk to the people backstage, so they could talk to the guys on the sound.
And the results, I think, was great. Yeah. Like, the spotlights were so on, and like I think for the crowd it was great. What other takeaways? Friday night, Poway?
Oh yeah, no, it's my dad and my mom. So both of my parents came to that show, which is pretty amazing. My mom has seen this show a handful of times, and she saw it last at Boulder Theater last year.
Boulder Theater, yeah.
So she's seen the big show. I don't think my dad has seen this show. If he has, it was in the early days.
Right.
When it wasn't what it is now. And so my mom and her husband's kids and their spouses came. So,
which was so nice.
It was so great.
So nice.
And my dad and his wife came. And so separately, Justin and I had been talking about how we thought that we wanted to take a page from Cody Qualls and do a little more talking to the audience, a little more connection. Like, we don't have a ton of space between our songs. We have little intros, this song is from this album, whatever, or this song is about that feeling of whatever, things we've worked out. But we've been thinking maybe we need to take a breath once in a while and connect with the audience as people. And in a tribute band, that has seemed like it's been a tricky thing to do, because here I am standing there being somebody else, but I can't speak as her. I can't tell stories as Stevie Nicks. But if I tell stories as myself, then I'm obviously not being Stevie Nicks. So what do I do? So I've been trying to keep it very vague to date. Like, you know that feeling when, oh, no, whatever. This is a song about that. So anybody could be saying it. Well, this time, I went ahead and told stories as myself. I stepped out of character for a couple things. And so one of them was at the Poway show. I hadn't seen my dad, but I knew he bought tickets, so I was pretty sure he was in the audience. And we were going to do Dreams from the Rumors album by Fleetwood Mac. And I said, so I think my dad is in the audience. And he stood up. He was like 3 rows back, straight in front of me. I hadn't seen him. He stood up and like kind of waved, and like the crowd all cheered for him.
The crowd went nuts. They went nuts.
And I told the story about how I gave him the album Rumors when I was 12 years old because I really wanted it for myself. But, you know, so the kid was thinking. I wanted it to be part of the box of cassette tapes that we would always take on road trips to Telluride. Because we would go skiing in Telluride for a week every year, which was a good 10-hour drive at least.
Yeah.
So I always think of, like, there's this, like, set, like this shoebox size set of cassette tapes that to me is Telluride music. And I wanted that cassette tape to be in the Telluride music box. So I gave it to him.
Is a great story.
So, yeah.
And that's what we were talking about is, I think what we were realizing is that one thing people seem to want, at least at certain kinds of shows, theater shows, they bought tickets, they want to get to know people in the band on a personal level. They want to have a connection.
Yeah.
And it is a little different because we are this tribute thing and these aren't songs we wrote, but
we have feelings about this music.
We care enough to do the tribute. They care enough to have bought tickets to see the things. So kind of seeing where we performers and audience connect on those things. I think and then the next night you did you stretched it out a little bit. Mm-hmm.
I did a little more. And this was interesting too. It wasn't going as well. I thought it wasn't going as well. Not that the show wasn't going well, but like I didn't think that my talking was going as well because it was a huge field. People had their blankets and their chairs, and I mean it was stretched way out there. In the back, people were just standing up talking to each other. They weren't paying attention to us.
There were easily 300 chairs set up before we. Like when we showed up to sound check,
way more than 300, I would say.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It was just, so it was a huge, huge field. And you're right.
Yeah, people were talking.
Yeah.
Kids running around with balls and stuff. And so when I would talk a little bit, I could hear the conversation. Like there was a kind of a din going on. And I was like, I shouldn't be talking. Like nobody's listening. But some people were. And you think that set the groundwork for the way they responded in the second set once the sun went down.
Yes.
So, sun went down, we did the second set, and the crowd was insane. They were wild. So into it. They were pressed up to the front. They were responding to everything we were doing. And then I didn't think of this until the very moment I said it, which same thing with my dad. I did not think about that until I was about to start talking. I was going to introduce Gypsy, and Gypsy is a song that Stevie Nicks says is about those times back early in her life when, the mattress was on the floor and the decorations were made of paper, but, she didn't have many material belongings, but she was free. And so I started my take on that by saying, so I went to college in California, and the whole crowd went, woo! I was like, what? I just started my story, but cool. And then I talked about how I graduated, I moved across the country, I didn't have any furniture, blah, blah, blah.
That, and I think those little personal details just put the crowd so much on your / our side. Yeah. We were in it together, which is, I think, why at least the adults in the crowd were, that's how they were feeling.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of kids there who were losing their minds.
Oh my gosh.
They could not believe what was happening.
That must have looked like a Disney character or something to them. So we were in the tent, green room tent, between the first and second set, and I was just sitting on a chair, just like hanging out. I still had the wig on and the whole costume and everything. And some kid walked by. We had the tent kind of flapped open, and some kid walked by who's 8, 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he happened to glance in the tent, and he stopped in his tracks and went, like literally froze. And I like waved at him, and then he went, it's like even bigger. What? He was so cute. At first, I thought he was being sarcastic. I thought he was like making a joke, but the way that he responded when I waved to him was like, no, this kid thinks he just saw like a famous person.
He's like backstage at Disneyland.
I know.
Like, you're real?
And so many of the kids were responding that way, like mouths open, just like they were pressed up against the subwoofers at the front of the stage. I was kind of surprised their parents let them. I mean, they were smashed, like just absorbing the sound.
Yeah. Well, the one, there was one kid who like, we finished a song and we do like lots of endings where we like, you know, blah, now, and the whole band kind of like does it together. And we like ended some song and we're like, brrr, you know, trash can ending, and then brrr, ended it real tight, and the kid was just like,
oh, that's right, hands on his head.
He was like looking around like he couldn't believe it. He was just like
I must have taken pictures with 30 kids after the show.
I stepped up to solo in one of my solos, and there were like maybe like 5 or 6 like 7 or 8-year-old boys, and they just were all like like not even cheering, like, yeah, it was just like guttural screams, just like
It feels so good.
It was really not the experience you normally get doing gigs. Yeah, it was wild. So we had great gigs in California.
We did.
Yeah.
Lots of people at both gigs. And great response at both gigs. I said this in the Facebook post, but we got like half of a standing ovation after one of the songs in the first set at Poway. I think it might have been Rhiannon or something big like that.
Oh, it was Rhiannon. Yeah, it was
like
Rhiannon.
A bunch of people stood up to applaud
after
that one. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, those were those shows. We also had a show. Do you have anything else about those two shows?
You know,
just bragging about
how
travel great we are.
Stuff. Nothing terrible happened, so that's good.
Yeah. We learned that we love the Long Beach airport. That's our second.
Love the Long Beach airport. So tiny. Mm-hmm. What do they have? Like 5, 6, 7 gates.
I think that's it.
Yeah, you're just like, you get off the plane and in 30 steps you're outside.
Yeah, the baggage claim, the gates, all of the food, and the car rental stuff is all within like a 1 or 2 minute walk of each other. Oh,
it's unbelievable. Yeah.
I love flying small places like that.
Yeah, Long Beach is great.
We had a gig before those two. We had the Wednesday night. What was it? No, Thursday night.
Thursday night we were in City of Parker with Ian Rollins.
Yes.
Filling in on drums. We've talked about Ian a bunch of times. He plays with us with Cody sometimes. Mm-hmm. That was a good gig. That. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was his second one with us, and he was much more relaxed than the first one. That's no criticism.
And he only had an hour and a half of music to learn this time, so not 3.5 hours worth.
Yeah. I can't even imagine subbing in as a drummer at a big show with 3.5 hours of new music.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Yeah, he's, did a great job.
So stories from that show. So we had a woman came up before the show. We were sound checking. I thought she was maybe with the city or something. She just walked up like onto the stage, was like, "Hey, anybody want a Cherry Blossom LaCroix? They're warm." I'm like, "Oh, you're really selling this drink here."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, okay, I'll take a warm Cherry Blossom-flavored LaCroix." I'm not sure what flavor Cherry Blossom is, but and she said, "Do you want another one for later?" I was like, "Okay, I'll have another warm one for later." So now that's in our rider that we get Cherry Blossom.
Cherry Blossom LaCroix, warm. Cherry Blossom LaCroix. Sun warm, not room temperature.
Yeah.
Got to clarify. Warm from the sun, not room temperature. We're getting pretty full of ourselves.
So let's see, that was great turnout as well. Some people were showing up early to set up their chairs. It always surprises me how early people go to do that, but you want to get shade or you want to get sun or whatever. It did rain during the show, but we didn't have to stop because it didn't rain sideways.
Brief. And
it rained straight down.
Down. Stack's amp and pedal board was getting pretty wet.
Yeah? Did they end up okay?
That's when you were about to start some song, and I threw my guitar off and was like, we need a minute.
Okay.
And you were talking, and I ran over by Stax's amp and made sure that it didn't need to get moved. Or we always carry, good tip for gigging musicians, during the summer, you should always carry large, heavy-duty garbage bags with you so that you can throw them over equipment. And for some reason, sound companies never carry that. They have their own equipment out there. I don't know why they don't do that, but we carry around you bought the,
a whole box
of. So I grabbed the box of trash bags and ran over by his gear thinking maybe we needed to cover it because it was like, there was a weird thing in the roof. There was like a weird... how it kind of like, it was like circular, and he was just right where the two circles came in, and so water was like pouring down.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And I'm like looking over him playing, and Brian is like the coolest dude in the world. He's just like, like...
That's the all concern he allows to show.
Yeah, I was like, Brian looked a little concerned for a split second. It's an emergency.
He's so chill.
Yeah, it's a total emergency. We need to deal with this because so that was great. Great show there.
Was there anything notable about the show? I don't think there was.
One thing I'll mention, and I don't know how notable this is, it is interesting how the response to Landslide is different every time.
It is so different. What was it at that one?
That's what I was kind of bringing up.
Was that a pin drop one or a talk conversation?
No, that was Cheers. Like you did the snow-covered hills and you paused and they cheered.
Okay.
Poway, pin drop. Like that room was silent. Like you snow-covered hills and you paused. Dead silent because it was a theater. It was seated. It was like watching a play or something, and they were totally quiet.
Yeah,
Talega, the loudest singing along to every lyric of the song.
Yeah, I could hear them so well. So first time ever, I started just giving them the microphone, and I wasn't even singing into it.
You totally did. I forgot that, but yeah, you were.
And so they were singing so loudly, I got to see my reflection in the snow, and I could hear them singing it and holding it. So I sang it and held it. Normally I sing snow-covered hills, and that's where the spot is.
Right.
But I heard them all singing in the snow, and so I held that note, and they all held it with me. In the snow, and I held that for some impressive amount of time to make people go woo. And so they were cheering right before I even stopped singing, before the space where it normally happens, because I'd been doing this big note that was with them, and there was so much energy from them singing along.
Yeah.
And, it's different every time.
It's different every time. I mean, it always works. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. I was talking to, I rode back from Poway. I rode back with Vic and his family to the hotel in Lake Forest, and they were saying something about one of the songs and whatever response I got after a solo on a song. And I was trying to say, yeah, that's great and it's very flattering, but also we've designed the set so that has to happen there. That is a standing ovation moment, and it's not even totally about my solo or the song or what I did. It's that we've built the flow of things that if we stop right there and I do the hat thing, but if we give them a chance, it's kind of the flow of the whole thing that's the standing ovation moment. Mm-hmm. And so it's weird because you go oh, neat response, but it's No, we designed things well enough that that's where that sort of has to happen.
Right.
If you move that moment somewhere else in the set, it would get a great response. It's a big part. It's a big solo thing. Like, it would get a response, but it wouldn't get a standing ovation. It's about where it is in the...
Yeah.
It's exactly like a movie. Like, you couldn't put the climactic battle scene between the good guy and the bad guy. You can't put that in the middle of the movie. It needs to be in this certain spot. Otherwise, it wouldn't...
Yeah.
You know, and it's the exact same thing.
It is the exact same thing. That's why it drives me crazy when I see a band where I know their music and they put their most killer, like, ace in the whole song as the first song.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where are you going to go from there?
Or even weirder, I forget who we saw. It was somebody I really like.
Was it Slater-Kinney?
It might have been Slater-Kinney. And they put the song, like, just randomly halfway through the set. Like, their big... Like, this is the Bring Down the House song, and it was, like, just randomly in the middle of the set somewhere. And it was like, man, you could have, like, murdered with that if you would have waited to the...
Yeah.
If you would have waited to the part where the good guy and the bad guy finally fight, and that's where you did the... You know, like...
Yeah.
Not that... Who knows, man? Maybe I don't... You know, maybe I don't know. But that's my personal thought and opinion. So, yeah. Gosh, what else? I just did some session guitar work for a funk soul thing tonight.
Sounded really cool.
Really cool. Lee Clark Allen. He put out an album right before the pandemic, and since the pandemic has apparently just been writing and working and has gotten into production himself, which he never was. You know, he's just a songwriter and live band guy, and he's gotten into production, and he's being, I don't know, really impressive.
Cool.
Really impressive growth, really incredible, you know, very modern sounding, where you're like, oh, this is like a total throwback soul thing, but he's doing these things in it that are like really modern.
Cool.
Yeah, so excited to see how that turns out. Big week coming up again.
3 more gigs this week.
Yeah.
One in Wyoming. That's going to be, well, it was going to be opening for the Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be playing before them, but on a different stage.
Yes. Right.
Just learned that a few hours ago. But there should be a ton of people there.
Which, you know, they're Blue Oyster Cult. They're a little older. They're worried about COVID. Like, it makes all the sense in the world for
I
them
don't
to...
understand that, actually. Like, we're not going to be... It's outdoors.
Well, now that you say that, I don't understand it either. But who knows?
Whatever.
Yeah.
We breathed this air in front of you a half an hour before you also occupied the same space.
Right.
Outdoors. Whatever. I know that Vic went to great lengths to get this gig.
No, he did.
It was a long negotiated gig.
An amazing job of that. So that should be fun.
We have Boot Barn, and we have something else in between. South Glen.
South Glen.
On Wednesday.
Well, so there you go. Another week of music.
Yeah.
And then things are going to slow down. So we're getting
yeah.
back into working, recording, teaching.
Got some Cody gigs coming up. Cody
Yeah.
Qualls gigs and rehearsals for that. And a showcase. So another thing I did last week was review all of the song selections that people submitted for our August 28th showcase at the Oriental Theater. We have yet again another record number of people signed up. It's been growing
That's great.
Crazy.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. I think I allowed something like 40 songs in. Yeah. So yes, it's going to be a big one. That plus the 3 student bands is going to make for a very, very long day.
That will be.
Oriental.
You know, interesting. I think it's worth mentioning. Among all the other stuff going on, I found out last minute about a student showcase that we had Wednesday.
Right, because that is the first student showcase or / gig that I did not attend. And you did not attend.
Wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah. I handed the reins to Joe Mondragon because it was a concert of 2 of our student bands. And you didn't Well, he plays guitar in both of them. So
yeah, there was no reason for me to. It's interesting that things are growing to the point where something like a literal show or public performance, like, we don't need to be involved to the point we.
Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to go to see another one of our students perform that same night.
That's right.
Vinny Montez. He is a comedian. And he's either a part-time cop or an ex-cop because he's a serious comedian. He tours nationally. And he takes voice lessons with our teacher, Kristen Page, in Broomfield, because he sings in his show. He came to us because he sings in his show, and he wanted to improve that part of his show.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I knew he was taking voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he does little snippets, but he does them well.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's like part of his act. He does. Yeah.
I can't remember the bit that it's in now. No, I do remember something about like when he used to get called to like domestic disputes as a cop, and sometimes they would be very stupid things like, my husband will not put the dishes in the dishwasher, and I'm going to kick him out. And he'd be like, oh, you guys need to sing it out. You need to sing it out. What if you were like, and then he would break into song that was some song that was applicable about like making it up and, getting back together again. It was funny when he said it.
No, it sounds like a bit. Wow. So, geez, lots of stuff. You're going to have to edit out some ums from me.
I always do.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, I edited some of them out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Mitch Hedberg said, I used to edit out ums. I still do, but I used to too. Anyway, probably a good place to end.
Yeah.
We're a little tired, as you can see.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much, John Sherman, if you made it this far. Thank you. Best buddy, keyboard guy, monster player. It's amazing that people are watching, and we really appreciate it. I guess if people want...
Come be on our show.
Come be on our show.
Yeah.
Just say so.
Come have a beer with us.
You don't have to be just a listener. You can be part of the show. We're not...
Because, it's super famous.
We're not fancy.
All right. Let's close this one down.
Okay.
See you guys next week. Bye.